Okay. Alright, it's 12:05, so I'll start reading. But yeah. So like I said before, I'm in a spare room. I just went somewhere that was quiet and I'd be able to talk at the full volume that I wanted to. So I didn't have to mute or tone myself down for anybody. I could just speak freely, speak however I would like to speak. So I'm going to be reading some pieces from The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I want to start by stating that reading this book, it is amazing for me. I read this back when I was in high school, but I read a lot of Toni Morrison books growing up just because she shaped my childhood. Being able to read books by a black woman for little black girls that look like me, it was a really amazing thing because a lot of the times when I was reading books growing up, there weren't characters in it that looked like me. There weren't characters in it that I could relate to. And having books where there's little black girls going through the exact same issues that I went through growing up, that had the exact same feelings that I had growing up and I may still have now, it's something really important. I just think it's good for little black girls, little brown girls to see themselves in fairy tale characters, especially in characters that, this book is based off of trauma, but a lot of times to see themselves in characters that aren't just black trauma. I think it's very important for black girls, black people in general, brown people in general, to see themselves as characters who can be carefree and fun, not just people who are going through trauma all the time. And I'd also like to start by stating that I'm going to put a trigger warning out there. With what I'm going to be reading today, we're going to be dealing with a little bit of sexual assault. So if that is something that you have been dealing with, or you know someone who has gone through something like that and that may be triggering for you, I encourage you to tap out at any point, any time. I want you to know that this is a safe space and I'm creating a safe environment for everyone, and I don't want anyone to feel like I've offended them in any type of way, or that this was triggering and this caused some memories to come up in any type of way for them. So the first part that I'm going to read from is in the prologue. The section of this it's just the prologue. It's the very beginning of the book. Quiet as it's kept, there were no marigolds in the fall of 1941. We thought at the time that it was because Pecola was having her father's baby that the marigolds did not grow. A little examination and much less melancholy would have proved to us that our seeds were not the only ones that did not sprout. Nobody's did. Not even the gardens fronting the lake showed marigolds that year. But so deeply concerned were we with the health and safe delivery of Pecola's baby, we could think of nothing but our own magic. If we planted the seeds and said the right words over them, they would blossom and everything would be all right. It was a long time before my sister and I admitted to ourselves that no green was going to spring from our seeds. Once we knew, our guilt was relived only by fights and mutual accusations about who was to blame. For years, I thought my sister was right. It was my fault. I had planted them too far down in the earth. It never occurred to either of us that the earth itself might have been unyielding. We had dropped our seeds in our own little plot of black dirt, just as Pecola's father had dropped his seeds in his own plot of black dirt. Our innocence and faith were no more productive than his lust or despair. What is clear now is that all of that hope, fear, lust, love, and grief, nothing remains but Pecola and the unyielding earth. Coldly breathed love is dead, our innocence too. The seeds shriveled and died, her baby too. There's really nothing more to say except why. But since why is difficult to handle, one must take refuge in how. Like I said, this is going to be dealing with a little bit of sexual assault. And so this portion that I just read gives us a glimpse into that, gives us a glimpse into just a little bit of what's going to be going on in the story. Pecola goes through a situation with her father and she ends up carrying his child. So we're going to move on to the next section. This is... Okay, so this is in the section titled Spring. And the name of the chapter is, hold on a second. Wait. Okay, so the name of the chapter is See Father, He is Big and Strong Father, Will You Play with Jane Father, Is Smiling Father, Smile Father, Smile, Smile. So this is the part where it's going to get a little bit of triggering. So like I stated before, feel free to tap out at any time. The trigger warning on this is sexual assault. We are going to be dealing with a little bit of sexual assault. And if that is something that is going to trigger you and is going to bother you, like I'm not going to feel any type of way about you tapping out. I would appreciate it if you did tap out and you took care of your own mental health. So I'm going to start. So it was on a Saturday afternoon in the thin light of spring. He staggered home, reeling drunk, and saw his daughter in the kitchen. She was washing dishes, her small back hunched over the sink. Goalie saw her dimly and could not tell what he saw or what he felt. Then he became aware that he was uncomfortable. Next, he felt the discomfort dissolve into pleasure. The sequence of his emotions was revulsion, guilt, pity, then love. His revulsion was a reaction to her young, helpless, hopeless presence. Her back hunched that way, her head to one side as though crouching from a permanent and unrelieved blow. Why did she have to look so whipped? She was a child, unburdened. Why wasn't she happy? The clear statement of her misery was an accusation. He wanted to break her neck, but tenderly. Guilt and impotence rose into a bilious duet. What could he do for her, ever? What give her? What say to her? What could a burned-out black man say to the hunchback of his 11-year-old daughter? If he looked into her face, he would see those haunted, loving eyes. The hauntedness would irritate him. The love would move him to fury. How dare she love him? Hadn't she any sense at all? What was he supposed to do about that? Return it? How? What could his calloused hands produce to make her smile? What if his knowledge of the world and of life could be useful to her? What could his heavy arms and befuddled brain accomplish that would earn him his own respect, that would in turn allow him to accept her love? His hatred of her slimed into his stomach and threatened to become vomit. But just before the puke moved from anticipation to sensation, she shifted her weight and stood on one foot, scratching the back of her calf with her toe. It was a quiet and pitiful gesture. Her hands were going around and around a frying pan, scraping flecks of black into cold, greasy dishwater. The timid, tucked-in look of the scratching toe. That was what Pauline was doing the first time he saw her in Kentucky. Leaning over a fence, staring at nothing in particular, the creamy toe of her bare foot scratching a velvet leg. It was such a small and simple gesture, but it filled him then with a wondering softness. Not the usual lust to part tight legs with his own, but a tenderness, a protectiveness. A desire to cover her foot with his hand and gently nibble away the itch from the calf with his teeth. He did it then and started Pauline into laughter. He did it now. The tenderness welled up in him and he sank to his knees, his eyes on the foot of his daughter, crawling on all fours toward her. He raised his hand and caught the foot in an upward stroke. Pecola lost her balance and was about to careen to the floor. Coley raised his other hand to her hips to save her from falling. He put his head down and nibbled at the back of her leg. His mouth trembled at the firm sweetness of the flesh. He closed his eyes, letting his fingers dig into her waist. The rigidness of her shocked body, the silence of her stunned throat was better than Pauline's easy laughter had been. The confused mixture of his memories of Pauline and the doing of a wild and forbidden thing excited him, and a bolt of desire ran down his genitals, giving it length and softening the lips of his anus. Surrounding all of the lust was a border of politeness. So yeah, I read this back in high school. And you're welcome. But I read this back in high school, and I remember having to write a paper on it. And even then in high school, like I knew it was a sick and twisted thing. But I understood that hurt people hurt people. And I understood that the rationale in his brain for him tried to rationalize that the reason behind why he did this sick and awful thing to his own daughter, him rationalizing it by saying that he loved her, like, it made sense because that was the only way he had ever been shown love. That was the only way he had ever been able to show love to someone. So in his head, it's like, my daughter loves me. Like, how am I supposed to return the favor to her, to express my love to her? And like, this is all he's ever known. So in his head, it made sense that this is like an adequate form of love for him to get back to his child. I'm gonna go into the next part. This section is titled Summer, and this chapter is titled Look, look, here comes a friend. The friend will play with Jane. They will play a good game. Play, Jane, play. Okay. And so this chapter is just speaking on Pecola as, like, after her father has died, her and her mother have moved. Pecola has had her baby. And it's just kind of recounting like how her friends that grew up with her, like how they see the whole situation and just like their memories of everything that was happening around that time. So, some of us loved her. The Magnot line, and Coley loved her. I'm sure he did. He at any rate was the one who loved her enough to touch her, envelope her, give something of himself to her. But his touch was fatal, and the something he gave filled her with her agony. The something he gave her filled the matrix of her agony with death. Love is never any better than the lover. Wicked people love wickedly. Violent people love violently. Weak people love weakly. Stupid people love stupidly. But the love of a free man is never safe. There is no gift for the beloved. The lover alone possesses his gift of love. The loved one is shorn, neutralized, frozen in the glare of the lover's inward eye. Okay, so I think oftentimes people see love as this beautiful and this perfect thing. But love is not perfect. Love is not beautiful. And excuse my language, love is fucked. Love hurts. Love fills you with so much pain. But I think it's also important to remember that you're enduring that pain and you're enduring that hurt that you get from being loved by someone because that is the way that person is choosing to love you. If love comes with pain, if love comes with agony, that is simply because the way that that person is loving you and the way that you are loving that person, you're choosing to fill it with pain and agony. I've been taught when I was growing up in church, like from the time that I was like 15 up until I was 18, I was taught that love is very much a choice. You are making the active decision to love someone and to fall in love with that person. And with love being a choice, you are making an active decision on how you want to love the person that you are choosing to love. So how they say that like wicked people love wickedly, it's because if you are an evil person, then if you're choosing to love someone, you are going to love that person evilly because that is the way that you are. That's the only way that you know. If this is your first time into love, you are going to love that person with every fiber of your being, with everything that you have, because you're not used to that. And you're just going to be so excited by the thought of like, oh my gosh, there's this person here that I'm choosing to love. There's this person here that I can love. Like, I'm going to give it my all. But you are also going to be very cautious. So you might not open yourself up to that person fully. And yeah, love is a crazy thing. Love is super crazy. And I think it's important to note that yes, Pecola's father was awful for the thing that he did to her, but that is how he chose to love her. That's how he felt that his daughter needed to be loved. And while it is not okay and it's not beautiful, he was loving her in his own way, and that's how he felt it was fair enough to love her. And I what was I saying? I was talking to a person yesterday, and there's this whole like trend with like people my age, and it's like, oh, like I want a guy who's going to be an asshole to everyone else, but he's going to be a sweetheart to me. And it's just like, I don't know, I feel like if you're choosing to love someone who is an asshole to everybody in the outside world, like that person is also going to be an asshole to you, like just because you were the person that like they chose to love. Like I feel like that's not going to make the circumstances any different. So yeah, just my takeaway from this, my takeaway from the part that I read is just love is not perfect, love is not beautiful, love is it's complicated, it is something that can be exhausting, it is something that can be draining, but you have the choice for love to not be a draining and exhausting thing. You have the choice for love to not be a painful and traumatizing thing. You control your own destiny. You control who you let in. You control who you let love you. You control who you love. So if you are loving someone and you choose to be in this perfect relationship where you guys have open communication and you guys lay everything out on the line and you guys talk through your problems, you guys allow each other the space to lay their emotions out, and you allow each other the space to just love you and to give them the choice to step away when things are frustrating. I feel that like love can be easy. I feel like love in that sense can be beautiful. But if you are letting someone love you when you were loving someone else and you guys are choosing to be toxic and traumatizing and to have fights and no line of open communication and just no access to each other's emotions and what's going on up here, then yeah, it's toxic. It's going to be damning. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. Like you're going to be like, oh, like I'm never gonna let anyone love me again. But I think we have to be cautious of, I don't know, you attract the energy that you put out into the world. So if I'm putting out this energy that I'm a very toxic and I'm a very exhausting and draining person and I have a lot of issues and I wear my issues out on my sleeve, and I'm letting everybody know that I'm someone who like, oh, I like to like fight when I get in relationships. I don't like, there's a difference from between like speaking up for yourself and just like nitpicking at everything and just choosing to cause like arguments with people just to do it. But yeah, like if you're putting that energy out into the world, then you are going to get that energy back. Like that's the type of love that you're going to receive back. So I just think it's really important to be cautious of that and to just, I don't know, keep that in mind. And I'm only 20 and I still have a lot to learn about love, but like that's what I've learned about love on my way, like as I've been embarking on this journey. And I don't know, I kind of owe everything that I know about love, everything that I've learned about love, to my mom, to my dad, to my youth pastor. Like those three people right there, they kind of shaped and framed the way I view love. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to me while I read. Thank you for listening to me while I bear my heart and I bear my thoughts out for you guys. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys all tune in for the next time that somebody reads. I don't remember what the next book is that's supposed to be read, but they will post it on their Instagram, so make sure you follow their Instagram so that you can keep up with what's coming out next, with who's going to be reading next. Thank you guys so much, and have a great Tuesday.